Welcome back to Metal of Honour. I'm Yidna. I'm so busy at the moment, we're going to jump straight into the video. This is the 5-stone eternity ring that we made out of a solid band, but like sort of hand carved. You remember we left it to about 2.9mm round holes. So go check that out if you haven't seen that yet. About to actually make this ring. So here, just round ball phrase, just standard bush, 3mm, just flaring out the main holes for the 5 white stones. You normally have to, these will only go down to a certain height. You might have to test it with the first stone just to see how far down that ball phrase is actually going into the ring, because like diamonds normally have like a standard size girdle, especially for these sort of smaller 3mm sort of 10-pointer stones. If you were doing this with coloured sapphires, unless it's a diamond cut sapphire, you'll find that instead of like a nice point on the actual girdle, it'll be like a bit fatter. Yeah, so with these, I say just open these up to a 3mm, using a bearing cutter now. You see the shape there. So many people call these different names, but where I am, what I've always known them to be, nearly 28 years, just a bearing cutter. And I'll literally, I already know that the stones will sit in those gaps, so I just do a little skim, partial way down, just to almost create a weakness on that inner wall. So when it comes to like using your hand pusher for securing those stones, it's just gonna like buckle over a little bit easier. So you'll always start with one. Generally the centre one is the better one to start with, because that can gauge your height of the actual table compared to the actual ring metal height the best. Then once you do that one, you can just follow it down just to make sure they all match up. And again, this is my trusty old like broken needle file that I've chopped a bit off. Literally hand filed a smaller square in the end of it. You notice this one I've roughened up a little bit, so every so often your pusher will go a bit too smooth, and when it's smooth, sometimes if you push over, you can just, it'll slip and it'll go quickly. To save any sort of damage to your hands and stuff, you do rough it up now and again. You literally hold it upright, get the roughest file you've got, hopefully an old one, but if you use the bit closest to the handle that you don't always use on a ring, generally just like whack it on the end, like real sort of like thump it down, like change the angle, like twist the actual pusher, so you can create almost like a cross-hatch effect, but that little extra grip will really help. As you can see from that first stone, we're going to do identical. I'll feel it over with like my fingernail, with the actual sort of pad of your finger, if you like, just to make sure it feels it's at the right level compared to the first stone. And you can see it's pushing over quite easy. It doesn't matter what metal you do this in, you're going to have to push quite hard. Obviously the centerpieces where the stones almost touch, we're not pushing them over yet, so we can't do the standard, not a complete northeast southwest. But whichever way you're doing it, you're always doing it in opposites as much as you can. The same way as you change your wheel on the car if you've got a flat tyre or something. You're always going to go with like your wrench and that. You're always going to go like opposites, you know. And you see how quickly this is going in. This is only this is probably one of my quicker videos that's gone up for a while. You see that it's only about 40 minutes or very close to. I can't remember what it was, but very close to that. And this has only taken me this long because I'm keeping sort of looking over to like the camera of like the little screen, making sure it's in focus. So quite often with a lot of these videos, if you're not recording it, you're going to be able to sort of speed things up a little bit. Not that any of it's a rush, but it's more just that you can gauge how long it will take you. And the more you do, the quicker you get naturally. And the more mistakes you make, the less mistakes you make in the future. Yeah, so like, even like when you're getting down to these ones, that sort of if you want to class like a stone like 1 to 5 from the end, do number 3 first. That 2 and 4 are quite easy to do. It's only when you get onto like these outside ones that you're going to have less to push on, in terms of sort of always going opposites, because we don't want to push and scratch or dent into the main sort of like the main sort of surface flesh of that ring. We don't want to sort of eat away at it. You'll see that bit will be after we've secured the rest. That I'll use a little stiletto tool that I'll try and hold up and get into focus. But yeah, but for now, you can see like these ones sort of going okay. Like, you might have to phrase them out a little bit. You might have to just flare it a little bit. You might find that the girdle fits okay, but the reason the stone's not going down so far is because of, say like these are the 3mm. You might even need to do like a 1.5mm burr just to open up the very base of that hole, like sort of deep into that cavity. You might need to just sort of flare out a little bit just to take the body of the stone. But in this case, the ball fraser just hadn't sort of gone down quite far enough, so that's why I've sort of had to do the whole thing overall, just lower, just a fraction. You see how quick that was. But anything you do, just little by little. If you're unsure, any of these things, you don't need to rush. You just take your time. And as I've always said on like my videos, like with certain mistakes and things, if I make a mistake, I'll leave it in and show you sort of how I rectify it. Or in this instance, when I get to the knife edge pusher, which is what I'm going to be using for going down the centres that I rock over, I do a little slip that goes over almost onto the stone, but it goes through the wall. But you'll see from like the very final shot that it hasn't made any difference to the overall look, the overall quality. It wasn't really anything to worry about. But it's just one of those things. I always said I'd leave in the odd little things like that. I might even miss it when I'm sort of talking you through it. And you can see as well, I'm pushing down sort of like a 45-degree angle. The same as all my other sort of stone setting videos, or like the pushover, like rub over sort of stones. Gradually going sort of 45 and gradually sort of really sort of going on top. So it's almost downwards. Later on I will use the hammer handpiece for just for a quick tidy up. When, as you've seen in other videos, you don't need to use the hammer handpiece. I just like the little bit of time it saves. So this pusher is like what I call a stiletto. This is just an old sort of ball burr. When it's like lost a few of the fins off it, I just snap it off. Face like sort of completely vertical, and sort of just create a flat spot on the very top. And it doesn't need to be rough, but you just need to guide it nicely. You can see like this, it's really sort of resting on my left thumb, just so we can kind of just push down that very edge, like the very sort of just the edge, just that sharpness there. We just want to push that down, and you want to try and hold it flat, because you can see I am rocking it left and right, but you got to be careful because it hasn't got a rough surface. Because this one we want as little as possible filing to clean up that edge, and you can see how smooth that kind of looks. That for how you can see it there, and you see me do it again on the other side. That sort of roughness, and for how far away from the stone that's gone, it is perfect for the clean up. And this would be the same same tool in just a hand pusher. the same tool that I would use for like gypsy setting, like invisible setting, or however you want to sort of describe it, or what you're used to calling it. But you're really just pushing that very slight edge over. Sometimes you see people use these with like much bigger tool and they'll be slipping downwards, slipping away from the stone, or just generally a bigger tool that's pushed flat, but that sort of rough patchy bit from the actual stone, that outer ridge that you can see that I've dented, that'll be like right the way down sometimes. Yeah, but like what you'll see for like when I file this up, that this is going to be much easier for the actual control of the file later. And by running your finger over it, you'll see, or you'll feel that all the main tables of the stones feel quite level. Another trick is like you can actually hold the ring up, put your finger above the stone, hold it up to a light source, and sort of tilt it, and you'll see like the reflection, or up to like a window, just raw light, and you'll be able to see if they're all sitting straight. And again, this tool is what I use for the main, like the centre pieces. And this is another just broken tool bit, just ground down on the diamond plate, both sides. These could be quite steep, but you could do it so that each edge is like a 45 degrees, so you've got like a 90 degree in total. I generally have a mixture of all of them, just for how I've sort of sharpened the actual tool. You don't need to go and use a specific one each time. You can normally just pick up any of them and it will just work. So you can see for this, I've really sort of gone between the closest point in that curve, and I really sort of like rock it and sort of roll it over to the top. Some bits that might feel like a bit thicker, you could always even twist as you're pushing. If you're having trouble with like strength in your arms to push it over, you could do just like the slightest, and I'm talking like really slight little twist. But yeah, but basically you're gonna just push that into the very middle, so that you can see that was the bit there where I actually done like a little slip and it went straight to the middle. And at the time you think, oh, it had to be on the centre stone. But you can see just I'll just give it a little burnish on the inside there, just so that later on when it comes to bright cutting, you can't even notice it. So it was luckily it was like a very fixable slip, when it can be so much worse. And you can see from like the sides of this, same as any rub over I do, same as any rub over you're going to do, it's going to look like a dog stewed it for a while. Or going by this video, it's probably going to look like that for 30 minutes or something, 25-30 minutes, before it starts looking nice and neat. But the technique, what I'm doing, is very basic. It's very simple if you know how to do it. So once you've seen this, you can give this a go, and you can adapt this to freestone rings that you're making, anything that's just got two stones next to each other. It's you can adapt it for a lot of different styles of stone setting, even sort of creating your own shapes and little sort of like flares and little petal shapes. But quite often when I've seen people selling eternity rings that are rub over set like this, sometimes they don't look like really circular stones in. They kind of look a little bit oval, and quite often that's because people haven't sort of done a bright cut at the end. But not just that, it's because they haven't pushed over that centre, the 2 points in between each stone, sort of going around the whole way. You can see this bit, like from previous rub over videos, you know I can do all this by hand anyway, But just to speed up this little bit of process, I've just gone over with a hammer handpiece for my Fordham. Doesn't matter if you've got a micro motor or a different brand dependent motor. If you've got a hammer handpiece, it's gonna work out the same sort of thing. And for me, it's just getting that last little bit, sort of more from not quite upright, but just that slightly steeper. Just get that coming across. And all of this is, a lot of these little stages just seem very simple and a little bit pointless, but it's more that you've got to do a little bit of all these so you get the outcome of it looking very round, very secure. I know that if I'd done a ring like this, like sold it to a customer and they went away, I can be confident that it's not coming back because someone's got a stone coming out. The amount of things on Facebook I see that someone says, oh, I bought a ring from the high street sort of stores, I've got a stone come out, anyone know where I can get it put back in? So straight away, quite often people won't even think about taking it back to the especially if it's been over like a year or so, they won't even think about going back to that high street they've already been to, because they've just lost trust in them straight away. And it's the same as that if you might sell something on Etsy, and some of the things I see, when it's sort of like too late, you can already imagine that a stone's come out and it's already too late for someone to put a review on, or they just haven't got, they can't be bothered to spend time doing a review. That they just won't come back. They won't even think about buying another piece of jewellery from you or getting you to create anything. But doing it like this, you can sell the ring to your customer and you can be like 100% sure that those stones just aren't going to come out. You literally need your customer to go rock climbing, or wear it every day doing gardening, sort of like in the dirt, sort of planting seeds, pulling up weeds and stuff in the dirt, or like an allotment or something. That's the only way that these stones would come out. You can see I've raised it up in that little ball vise, and this is just a square file, just as you can see going from the top outwards, and that's going to just crisp up that nice little, obviously it's going to be square at the minute, but we're going to round that off afterwards. I think I said on other videos as well, to make this even quicker, normally I would just have this in like one of like my wooden hand clamps with like the wedge. So like the little sort of rocking clamp, you put it in the top, put the wedge in, and you can really sort of just twist and get to all the different angles like really quickly, because you're not restricted in a ball vise where you're trying to get it focused on the camera. So yeah, when it's like that, it is a lot quicker. As well, you do this both sides, then after this, like a lot of these files that I'm using, like needle files that I'm using, are generally just a cut 2. That's pretty much what you need for anything. You could get away with a cut 2 even on a needle file and a hand file. If they're the only files you've got, you could live like that and be a good jeweller still. But for this one, you see I use like, instead of sticking to the 4 square, which is a normal square, I would use like a 3 square, which is a triangle. If anyone anywhere knows why they call a triangle needle file or a triangle file a 3 square, let me know, because I've got no idea why they'd call it a 3 square and not just triangle. But yeah, so like for this bit, you can see I'm gradually rocking over, sort of almost like feathering it, just to get that roundness and get that crispness sort of back on. But it is at this point, by the time you've done both sides, that you're really going to sort of start seeing like these stones actually look circular, not sort of like overlised, you know. But it's at this stage as well, you start feeling a little bit more sort of happy with yourself, you know. But the same as like when you've seen me finish doing this section, I say you'll see that the stones will already be looking quite round. If your ones don't look round at the same stage as most parts in this video, you probably need to jump back to the stage. So you'll probably find that you've got to file it just a little bit more in certain areas. Yeah, that's the best thing I can say. The same as when you're buffing anything with like the sandpaper. If you've gone from done loads of sanding with a 400 grit, then you jump to like an 800 grit. If you've gone all the way around something and there's like a few scratches, that's the main indicator that you have to go back to the other paper for a little bit. Oh, excuse me. You'd have to go back to the other paper a little bit just because there's something deeper that that paper needs to deal with before you go on to like your 800. So you can see on this bit, I'm really feathering very carefully around the two end stones, because this is absolutely vital that you don't dig in too deep. If you carve in too deep with that file, you're going to end up having to match it on the other side of that stone. Then you're going to have to match it on the other side of the ring completely. So just go really careful, and you don't want to end up going too far down the shank. As you can see here, just a couple of strokes on the file is almost taking my... As long as you do the sides first and then attack the bit that's on the curve of the stone on the very, very edges, as long as you do it like that, you can see straight away that I've almost cut away, or I've almost filed away that initial sort of like little round stiletto pusher mark dent on the edges. So I've had to talk really quick on this one, so there's like, because I do work through it pretty quickly. But yeah, as long as you do these outsides, then do that bit, then you can go back to the outsides like I'm doing here. And that is what's going to let everything just round off nicely on that section. Okay. But these are, the first one you do of these, don't expect it to look completely round. And if it doesn't come out perfect at the end, I wouldn't worry too much for like a first go, because it can be very tricky. It's all these subtle little movements that kind of bring it all together, you know. And again, even with this 3 square file doing this bit, you could do this with a safety back even, just because that's got like the extra width, but it's still got the point down the end, but where you can put your finger on top. You can also get nice control going over. I find the most annoying file to do this one with is if I'd have stuck with the square file. I just find that it's just too square, too blocky, and it doesn't like to run. The same as where I'm using this triangle one, resting it on my thumb. Just having those 3 faces on the file just allows you to control it with your thumb a little bit more. Whereas a square file I'd just avoid. And the same as if you only ever had 1 file or 2 files, like 1 needle file, 1 hand file, go for the like 2 triangles. 2 triangle files are the ones that you can live with. And again, going very careful on the outer stone, or on the outer section of the outer stone. You'd be surprised how quickly you can mess that bit up. Okay, but while I'm just doing that little boring bit, just tickling over the other side. So the next video, it's a video that didn't get that many people watching actually, but it's like the 4-claw start. It was the 2-parter video, one where I made the collet, which is like kind of like a basic 4-claw that I sort of split, so it kind of become an 8-claw. Oh yeah, so here you can see like the little sharp edges on the side. We're going to file those bits off from the edges now, with the ring sort of laying flat and just gradually sort of taking that roundness down the sides. Okay, so you see for this one I'm using what some people might call like a safety back, that some people might call a barrette file. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, that's the next video. It's the double video. It was the two-part video where I've done like the 4 claws are kind of split into 2, so it kind of looks like an 8 claw, but almost like 4 claw style, with the matching ring shank that I assembled at the end of that. But the next video is going to be much quicker video, but I think a lot of people are going to find it useful to show you how easy it is to set a stone into something that's got that's like prong setting. I say claw for these sort of rings. I know a lot of people do call them prongs, but I'm not really sure where that comes from. That might be more of an American thing. But yeah, where I am, I've always called them claw set. So whether it's a wire collet or like a Rex style collet, which is like the ones that I've shown you how to make quite a few times now, like the little flower pot style. Any of the claws, that should help you quite a bit, I'm hoping. Yeah, so still with the barrette file, it's just gradually, like I said, it's just taking that, like the roundness all the way down. And this is a cut to file as well. I never use those really small needle files for things like this. It's always like the 20cm things, you know. I find this part the most boring part of this ring from start to finish. It's like from the old video. I'll try and remember to put a link for that video in, but it's only 6 or 7 videos before this one maybe, something like that. But from the very start, from making the initial ring to polishing this at the end, which is only like a quick sort of once over, this is by far the most boring bit, and you've got to get stuck in, because when it comes to this bit, when you do it the first time, you can just, like, I use the word feathering it on some of it, or on some things, when I want people to sort of go gentle on it. But this, it's very easy, just especially on your first one, just to literally tickle it, and you're hardly taking anything off. I've seen people that have done maybe 3 or 4 of these before, and when it comes to this bit, I've seen people do this for like 3 hours, where they're just not getting stuck in, just going, just too gentle. You're just not going to get anywhere. You're not going to get anywhere with it at all, and that just makes it even more boring. Even though I'm doing it reasonably quickly, I just think it's the most boring part of this. And sadly, most jobs have got a boring bit, but you'll find it's the bits that you don't like doing like this, that you'll just learn to get it quicker. Same as like when I was maybe 22 years ago, when I was I literally just done stone setting for about 1.5 2 years maybe, I can't remember. So sorry to jump here. So you see how round these are looking at the moment. It's only going to get rounder. So you're going to do the same thing again, just with a bit of 400 buff paper, buff stick, and then basically going over all of it with an 800, and you can almost like go like sort of like over speed bumps to sort that bit out. But yeah, what I was saying was that, yeah, like some bits, really boring stuff. About 22ish years ago, when I was doing stone setting, at one point you used to have like loads of like 18 karat yellow Rolex watches, and like the Rolex bracelet straps you used to put, depending on what size it was normally like the gents rings that you do it on, but depending on how many less links they had in it, you'd average between sort of like 400 and 420 stones in each of them. And like the first one probably took me like a whole week to do, when I was sort of doing sort of like as a trainee sort of stone setter. It probably took me a whole week to set these like 400 odd stones, and it was the most boring thing that I'd ever done like the stone setting for. And it was after about 3 or 4 of those that I thought, right, okay, I've got to earn more money, I've got to do it quicker, and also for my own sanity, okay, so just to get them set as quick as possible, as quickly, as neatly, and as secure as possible, so you know that they're never coming out. But yeah, the boring stuff, just learn to do it well, practice it. Then when it comes to bits like this, you can just get it out of the way, and as quick as possible, and start doing like the bits you sort of enjoy the most. And so, with these buff sticks as well, you're doing the same as you did with the files. You really are sort of like rolling it over and stuff like that. Of course, like being careful, maybe try not to lean on your fingers as much, because you find the buff paper, sandpaper, emery paper, whatever you want to call it, or whatever you use, you find that sort of cuts through your fingers a lot quicker than the file does, like when you're sort of resting the file over. Yeah, that's a lot more abrasive to your fingers. And again, you can see on like these bits here, like I've done, a lot of it's just like sort of either going the forwards and backwards as you're rolling it. Some bits like directly over to get into that groove. Some bits sort of going over the speed bump, like I said. Some bits just basically like massaging it, you know. So that on this point, this is where we want to get that real curve into the edge. On the outer stones, you can see it in front of you, which parts I'm buffing, but we'll do the sides and then gradually over the top. With diamonds it is easier, because you don't have to worry about your buff papers and that scratching the stones. If you're doing sapphires, you're going to have to be really careful. So on this part, you see I do actually pre-polish it. Obviously it's not finished. We're going to do the bright cutting that you've seen me do quite a few times now, which always puts that final sort of crispness on there. Again, as long as you're using diamonds, if you're not very good at the bright cut, but you can get this far, you could always use like just like a pin for like if you've done a rub over or a gypsy set, you could just like pin those edges just to burnish them. If you want to neaten it up just that little bit, but you still haven't got the hang of the bright cutting, it's not a problem. Overall it will still look quite a nice ring. Really on this one I should have done like a little demo of just burnishing it, just to show you what that would look like. But maybe I'll remember that on the next one, something like that. But yeah, for something like this, because these have got to be so circular, that's why I'll pre-polish this sort of ring to this extent. Whereas like when you see me doing a single rub over for whatever stone, I'll generally just sort of do it all the way through, sometimes not even pre-polish. I'll just go straight in with the flat scalper and start doing my bright cut. But for something like this, I kind of want to see it shiny. I want to make sure that my bright cutting is being as equally shiny, you know. So this the same again. You're kind of relying on rotating your left hand a little bit more where possible. If on the original ring, from by the time you get to the end of the video of making this 5 stone, it's at this point you know that you've got your distances just touching just right, because from the beginning of this video, when you've pushed it all over, it all looks a little bit rough, a bit smudgy, so that when you're doing this bright cut, you're really just going through, just where the stones meet, you're kind of just about breaking through. And it's on these points between the stones, which is the main part of the illusion, that if it's not done right, it makes your ring look oval. You've got to clear out this section. There's no question now. It's the most important part of getting these to look completely round. It's not always easy. Obviously, but by the time you're about to break through, it can be very easy to do the breakthrough from like the little knife edge points from around the stones. It can be very easy just to nick out that centerpiece touching and slip straight through. Again, like anything, it just takes you like the practice there. So see, some bits you might go from the inside and go towards the outer, but yeah, most of it, and this is where it doesn't help. You're gonna have to go both ways. Sometimes when you're doing a complete rub over, if you find it easier to sort of cut towards yourself almost and pushing in like that, on this way, on these sort, because it's got like the open sides, you sort of push that way. Then some bits you've got to push towards the other way. Quite often people will always have an easier way of their favourite way that they feel more comfortable doing that. Whereas this, you're going to have to sort of do it the opposite way as well. So it's good practice for doing those sort of movements that your muscle memory hasn't quite picked up on yet. But it all comes together. And you will, like I say, like this bit, I'm kind of going away from myself. Like for me, that's the harder cut to do, but only by a little bit. There's there's certain bits if I'm stone setting up, normally sort of like pave work, sort of doing grains. Especially when you've got to have it put on like the cement, whether it's like shellac or the GRS plastic. There's certain bits that I'll set where it just takes so long. This was like years ago. Things would take so long to take it off, clean up, then put back on the other way so you can get to it to do the grains. I literally taught myself just to do it left-handed. Do it with like your sort of your non-dominant hand, because you save so much time setting. I can change for certain things. I can't file with my left hand, but stone setting, raising grains, even like the bright cutting like this, I can actually do with my left hand as well. It just depends whereabouts on the ring it is for where you've got to change. But if you can train yourself to do left-handed stuff or your opposite hand, you'll find life a lot easier with many things. But yeah, like I say, I hope you found this useful. I'll go over this a little bit more, just making sure that's completely round. Of course, don't forget, the same as like the old sharpening video, you're going to sort of poke it into your nail every so often. You might not have even noticed me doing that. Just make sure the tool is still sharp, or you are going to get slips and bits like that are probably going to end up have you sort of stabbing your own hand, you know. And again, for like the actual bright cut on these edges, you will have to sort of shift it in your clamps, because you're not going to be able to sort of do this on the peg. So even if this was in the wooden clamp, I'll just adjust that so it's at the top, so I can always rotate more comfortably. And you can see by the time I've done this bright cut there, it's like a lovely wall of just shine, of mirror. By the time you've done this, you've got rid of any of the original tool pushing marks. And this would be the same if it was doing the gypsy set, like invisible setting. I will do a video on gypsy setting at some stage. It's not something that I really sort of particularly like doing. Not because it's any easier or any harder than any other sort of types of stone setting for other reason. I'm just not a fan of the setting style. I don't really like the look of a stone just in there on its own, but a lot of people do. So and it's the same style as, like I say, like on this end bit. So that's the aim, and you can see I've made it quite straightforward sort of technique for getting that stone wall on the edge, sort of where the stone comes, pushing that bit so it kind of overlaps without denting like quarter of the ring going sideways. It's just keeping it all like nicely in order. It's all about control, all about control. And a lot of these that you're doing, just be positive. And if you make mistakes, don't worry too much. Just start again. And like I say, the more you do things, the quicker you become, the better you become. And if like you made like a terrible mistake at this stage, you know you're only going to take an hour and a half maybe to make the ring again, or like an hour, I think it was. I can't remember what it was now. But you know you're going to be able to make it and get back to that same stage again. You know, it sounds like if you're playing a computer game and you just lose a life and you forgot to save it and you've got to start a few levels back. It's the same sort of thing as that. But yeah, this is pretty much the end of the video. I hope this has been useful. Like I say, if your one looks like mine, all like the different stages that I've been at, that will all sort of culminate in the grand scheme of things. Like I said, it's that middle section that you want to just nick through that centerpiece at the last second on that bright cut, and that is what's going to make this ring look absolutely spot on. But yeah, I've got to leave it there. I've got to do so much work here. But thanks again for watching. Keep an eye out for the next video. Like I say, it's going to be just a simple claw setting, but it's going to help everyone a lot. Thanks again for all the likes and subscribes. Thanks for all the comments. All the things you've been asking. It's been nice sort of chatting with people. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there. I've got to do so much stuff here. Thanks again. Take care. See you next time.